Welcome to the Provincetown Tennessee Williams Theater Festival's 13th season. Every year, at the end of September, theater artists and devoted audiences gather at the tip of Cape Cod to celebrate the spirit of Tennessee Williams through live performances. This year, our theme is wishful thinking. What prompts wishful thinking in life and on stage is waiting for love, for satisfaction, as a way to ward off paralyzing fear. In Tennessee Williams' life-affirming play, The Rose Tattoo, we meet Serafina de la Rosa 3 years after her beloved husband has died. Serafina, unkempt, disheveled, and paralyzed with grief, has made an altar of her husband's ashes. Unlike other famous Williams heroines who we watch fall apart, in The Rose Tattoo we watch Serafina resurrect. Irene Glazos is a festival favorite for her powerhouse performances in Orpheus Descending and in The Summer House. She returns to us this year to play Serafina, the greatest of Tennessee Williams' life-affirming women's roles. The play is set in a small Sicilian community on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. The production comes to us from New York City by way of Cape Cod and is directed by Dana Greenfield. Talisman roses are yellow and orange. They were popular in the 1930s for bridal bouquets, and Talisman Roses is the name of a play Tom Williams wrote as a student at the University of Iowa before he became Tennessee. Set in a suburb of St. Louis, it begins with a very private sorrow. In 1937, his sister Rose suffered a mental collapse and was taken to a state asylum. Her doctors recommended shock, insulin shock, electric shock. Williams suggests the delivery of flowers could shock her back into enjoying life. The play has never been published or performed, and this will be its world premiere. We are pleased to announce that the festival's 12th world premiere of a Tennessee Williams play will be directed by Marsha Mason, who has been nominated 4 times for an Oscar and who is herself from St. Louis. Talisman Roses will be performed alongside several new short plays by living writers, all on the theme of waiting, produced by an ensemble of multi-talented theater artists from New York City, the Collective New York. When Williams was in Chicago working on the original production of The Glass Menagerie, he had a vision of a woman in a chair in the moonlight, waiting for someone to arrive who never comes. 3 decades later, the same wishful waiting inspired a play with music called Will Mr. Merriweather Return from Memphis? A traveling salesman, Mr. Merriweather has been away from his boarding house so long that his lovesick landlady wonders if he's in heaven or hell, or still in Memphis. To pass the time, she holds seances with her potty-mouthed neighbor, conjuring ghosts. The action takes place in a surreal Bethesda, Mississippi, at the end of the 19th century, where Williams imagines the 3 fates live, and where everyone longs for something or someone as they dance to the sound of the banjo. Mr. Merriweather comes to us by way of Florida from one of America's longest-running theaters. The Pensacola Little Theater's production features Jeff Glickman, who returns to Provincetown 8 years after his memorable production of 27 Wagons Full of Cotton. In Some Problems for the Moose Lodge, a family does return from Memphis to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where Bella and Cornelius McCorkle come home after burying their gay son. Their surviving son shows up with his pregnant girlfriend, a charismatic born-again Christian. This will be the first production of the play since 1980, when it was first performed at the Goodman Theater in Chicago. This one-act comedy grew into Williams' last completed play, A House Not Meant to Stand. But Moose Lodge stands by itself as a gothic comedy, sharp and funny. We're pairing it with another short play Williams wrote at the same time, Steps Must Be Gentle. The title comes from a poem by Hart Crane, who committed suicide by jumping off a ship into the Gulf of Mexico. In Steps Must Be Gentle, Williams pictures Hart Crane at peace, on the seabed, until his mother dies and arrives in the afterworld to nag him. But like all the plays by Williams we're presenting this season, it has a happy ending. Is that wishful thinking? Both are directed by Rory Pelsu from Atlanta, Georgia, and produced by the Collective New York. Other great playwrights have been stirred by the drama of anticipation. In Doña Rosita the Spinster, the great Spanish poet and playwright Federico Garcia Lorca wrote of the language of flowers in the flowery southern city of Granada, Spain. 15-year-old Rosita is engaged to her cousin, but he goes off to South America. He promises to return soon and marry her. 15 years pass, and he has still not come home, but Rosita believes he will. 10 more years pass, and Rosita confesses at the age of 40 that she knew he had gotten married, but she couldn't tear hope out of her heart. She says, "Hope clung to me like a dying wolf." Lorca celebrates the pain and beauty of wishful thinking. Rosita remains a trusting child all her life, so this life-affirming production is performed by children, along with adult musicians playing the harp and guitar. Directed by festival curator David Kaplan, the cast comes from the Atkins Middle School of Lubbock, Texas, in association with Texas Tech University. When he was asked who influenced him most, Williams said, "Chekhov, Chekhov, Chekhov!" exclamation points included, and the famous Russian playwright is the master of wishful thinking. The festival is presenting Chekhov's Uncle Vanya in a new English translation by John Friedman of the Moscow Times. In it, the pain of everyday life is sustained by the ambivalence of hope. Everyone in this extended Russian family falls in love, and everyone waits for that wished-for love to be returned. Summer vacation ends, they are still wishing and waiting when Sonia says, "We shall live through the long procession of days before us, and through the long evenings. We shall patiently bear the trials that fate imposes on us. We shall rest. We shall hear the angels." The play is directed by the Chekhov-obsessed Kate Mendeloff, who brought us the festival's moving 2010 production of Williams' Summer at the Lake. This site-specific production comes to us from Arb Arts in Ann Arbor, Michigan, who specialize in environmental stagings of classic plays. Along with Williams and Garcia Lorca, the other inheritor of Chekhov's vision of waiting is the sardonic Irishman, Samuel Beckett. Beckett's most famous play is Waiting for Godot, but we're presenting a later text by Beckett entitled Company. From Philadelphia's Ego Po Classic Theater, who produced Brenna Geffer's Harry Ape in 2016, comes a dramatized version of Beckett's novella Company. This signature piece has seen several incarnations for over 15 years under the direction of Ego Po artistic director Lane Savadov. A body lies prone in darkness between living and dying, or perhaps between sleeping and waking. The body hears voices. For this landmark production, the audience itself lies in the dark, waiting, listening to a chorus of what might be memories or delusions, or perhaps Uncle Vanya's angels. Also from Philadelphia, a performance art piece inspired by Williams' Something Cloudy, Something Clear, Menagerie of Angels, under the direction of Brenna Geffers, with members of the die-cast ensemble who brought the festival's production of Pericles last year. It's a ghost story where figures from Tennessee Williams' dreams are stuck between life and death, waiting, eternally present, eternally alone, eternally expectant. Performed in the Wharf House at Provincetown Marina, where time is a snapshot, a closed loop, and where the space itself is a ghost from Tennessee Williams' past. And last but not least, entering stage left, Snagglepuss. Yup, the pink mountain lion from the Saturday morning Hanna-Barbera cartoons has been reimagined in a new comic series written by Mark Russell. Snagglepuss is now a closeted gay playwright in New York during the Red Scare panic over communism. Inspired by Tennessee Williams, Snagglepuss opens a Broadway play while hiding his private life at the Stonewall Inn gay bar. The Snagglepuss Chronicles is adapted and directed by Brenna Geffers and will play one show only at Provincetown's Fisherman Hall with the die-cast ensemble and celebrity guest stars as Huckleberry Hound, Marilyn Monroe, Lillian Hellman, the Rosenbergs, and Dorothy Parker. Around the time the Snagglepuss Chronicles is set, When America was attacked from within and without, Tennessee Williams wrote, "Everywhere, the people seem to be waiting for the next cataclysm to strike them. They are not panicky, perhaps not even frightened, but they are waiting for it to happen." We live now in America as we did then, waiting for something to happen. As we wait, wishful thinking defies expectations in Talisman Roses. Wishful thinking defies death in the rose tattoo. Wishful thinking predicts the future in Will Mr. Merriweather return from Memphis. Wishful thinking wards off tragedy in Some Problems for the Moose Lodge. Wishful thinking is cruel and beautiful in Garcia Lorca's Doña Rosita. Wishful thinking might be delusional in Samuel Beckett's Company. But even if it is a fantasy, or delusional, or painful, wishful thinking sustains life in Chekhov's Uncle Vanya, and in all the plays of the 13th annual season of the Provincetown Tennessee Williams Theater Festival. Wishful or not, we're thinking we'll see you in September.